What's up, everybody? It is NFL Free Agency Eve, and we got a lot to discuss here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. ESPN Jeremy Fowler had a lot of nuggets on a lot of teams, including the Bears, this morning, so I want to react to that here on today's show. But speaking of free agency, we're going to be going live all week long, starting tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. Central, maybe even 9:30. It'll depend. But we will be live at least an hour before the legal tampering period opens at 11 a.m. Central. And just a reminder, that's when deals start getting agreed to. They can't be signed till Wednesday, but tomorrow is when the big action begins. So subscribe, join us, turn on those notifications. We're trying to get to 160,000 subscribers ASAP. All right, let's get to Jeremy Fowler's notes on the Bears. Are the Bears not in play for a splashy pass rusher? He tends to think that is going to be the case. Here's what he had to say. Quote, yes, they could use pass rush help, but I don't sense Chicago is desperate for a splashy pass rusher. Much will depend on price. Interior rush could be the way to go. Now, I think out of the guys left at edge, these would potentially qualify for a quote-unquote splashy edge rusher. Trey Hendrickson, clearly, and I've heard for weeks now the Bears are not in on Hendrickson, so don't expect that. Odafe Oweh sounds like he could get a pretty big deal. His teammate Khalil Mack, who I think the Bears would have maybe been interested in had he hit the market on a one-year deal. He re-signed for a one-year, $18 million deal. Oweh being younger, he could clear $20+ million on a multi-year deal. Same with Jalen Phillips. There was a report this morning that the Eagles are trying to re-sign him and that it could cost north of $20 million per year. I think this is more of the area they could be shopping in. 1 to 2 year short-term options that hopefully won't cost as much, keeps them flexible moving forward. Cam Jordan, obviously Dennis Allen connection there. He's set to hit the open market. I think the Saints still want him back, but he could sign elsewhere. Joey Bosa, Jadeveon Clowney, two guys I had mentioned a year ago. I've mentioned Clowney for years as someone I'd like to see the Bears sign. Played good for Dallas last season. Arnold Ebiketie with Atlanta, a big physical edge rusher who plays the run well. Leonard Floyd, who isn't really a DA typical fit, but he could be an interesting option to bring him back to Chicago. Joseph Ossai with Cincinnati. Al-Quadin Muhammad, the Bears once brought him here. He did not fit in well with Matt Eberflus, but he had 11 sacks last year for Detroit. Has been good for the Lions. Von Miller on a one-year deal. Dennis Allen had him back several years back. Kingsley Enagbare with the Packers, I think, is a name to potentially watch. Then A.J. Epenesa, I know they had interest in him a few years ago. Maybe they would once again. I wonder if the direction they're going in here is, hey, one-year edge, draft an edge rusher in the first 3 rounds. I think that's kind of what you're going to be looking at here. I don't think the Bears want to tie themselves down with any of these guys for more than 2 years. Obviously they were in on Max Crosby to an extent. We'll get to that later on in the show as well. But don't expect Hendrickson. I don't think they're in on Jalen Phillips. I haven't heard either way on Odafe Oweh, but I think he's going to get a lot of money. I would guess they're not going to do that. With Dayo Odeyingbo's contract, I think they're trying to avoid that type of situation. They get him off their books next year, draft a guy to develop long-term, and sign a guy for 1 year that can help this year. Okay, linebacker Jeremy Fowler dropped a name that Bears fans should keep an eye on when it comes to potentially adding a linebacker. We will tell you who that is here in just a moment. But before we continue with today's video, got to tell you about Polymarket and about trading on Polymarket. If you go back to the Bears season in Week 17 against San Francisco, Polymarket was giving Chicago just a 39% chance to win. I thought that was crazy. I liked the Bears' chances heading into that game. The value there is good at just a 39% chance, so I took it. And we know it got really, really close to the Bears pulling off the upset. The Niners' defense was struggling. The Bears' offense was rolling at the time. And that's why I took Chicago at 39% chance. $100 to win, $156 had the Chicago Bears taking home the dub, but fell just one play short. Plus, with Polymarket, you can trade in and out on all the momentum shifts without getting blocked or penalized. With in-game trading, once the Bears got up, I had the option to either ride it all the way out or I could have sold early, which, had I known they were going to lose, I would have sold early. For example, bought at 39%, If I sold at 55%, I could have snagged a cool $41. That's how Poly Market works. You can do live in-game trading. It's awesome. You can't do this with traditional sports books. So get started today. Poly Market is legal in all 50 states. Download the app right now to get to the top of the wait list. The only way to do that is to click the link down in the comments and description of this video. Okay, Alex Anzalone, who Bears fans know very well, is someone that Jeremy Fowler has linked to the Bears. He said that they could bring him in. He played under Dennis Allen years back as well. Look, this would be kind of a tough one, right? Because I've never really liked Alex Anzalone. I would argue at times he's been a dirty player. He's also a good football player. Now, he's going to be 32 years old, so I don't know what his market's going to be, but he can do a little bit of everything. He's good against the run. He can play in coverage, which we know the Bears are looking for. He's not very likable, but he is solid, and look, maybe he's one of those categorical players where when he's on your team, you love him. When he's not, you absolutely can't stand him. So one thing I know for sure is the Bears are going to need linebacker help after they cut Tremaine Edmonds. Obviously, TJ Edwards fractured his fibula late in the season. He's expected to be ready for camp, but he's probably dwindling in coverage anyway. So you need someone who can play and cover tight ends and, drop back and do that type of stuff. And, on like a 2-year type of contract, I think Anzalone could provide some of that. So I wouldn't be completely against it. It'd be kind of weird to start rooting for this guy because I've never really liked him. But, hey, that's part of the business sometimes, right? Guys that you cheer for end up going to a rival and vice versa. So we'll see if he ends up being in play. I do think linebacker is a position that I could see the Bears adding early when the tampering period opens tomorrow. Do you want Alex Anzalone in Chicago? Type Y for yes, type in for no. There's other guys I'd rather have, but if the price is right and it's reasonable, I guess I wouldn't be fully against it. Okay, let's get to the latest on Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker for that matter. Jeremy Fowler had nuggets on this as well. He said that the plan is still to try and re-sign Kevin Byard. They'd like to get it done before tomorrow, so maybe if they can work out a deal, they can do it before he hits the open market. The expectation is that Jaquan Brisker will walk, which that's been the expectation all along, that Brisker's almost certainly gone and that Byard is more of a priority. I mentioned the other day on a video Cam Curl getting $12 million per year. Does that kind of set a big chunk of the safety market? I mean, Kevin Byard last year was better than Cam Curl. He had 7 interceptions. He was an all-pro, but he's also 32 years old. He's 6 years older than Cam Curl. So to me, going north of $12 million for Kevin Byard on an annual basis probably doesn't really make sense. So do you go 2 for 24 with like 15 guaranteed? That was a contract I threw out the other day where first year's fully guaranteed and throw him a few extra million on the second year, but it also gives the Bears the option to cut him if he declines in play or if they need cap relief a year from now. I could see that being kind of a structure, but if he wants 14, 15 million per year, I think you probably have to let him go. I think you got to draw the line. I'd love to get him at 10 million or less, but I'd probably be willing to go up to 12 if it's really only 1 year of fully guaranteed money. But we know this, the Bears don't have full leverage here. Why? Because they have 0 safeties under contract. So if Byard does go elsewhere, and assuming Brisker does as well, which I think that's safe to say, I'd say 90+% chance Brisker's on a different team, you're going to have to sign somebody. So whether that's a guy like Alohi Gilman, Nick Cross, Geno Stone, I think you're going to have to bring in one starting level safety. Ideally, it's just Kevin Byard, and then you pair that person with someone in the draft, and then, you probably re-sign a Jonathan Owens, something like that, to be your third guy on the back end. Okay, lastly, he did have a lot of the Max Crosby stuff, the teams who were in, the teams who were out, and, based on his reporting, he essentially said that the Bears, in the end, were not, like, one of the main teams in it, that they were in it throughout, but, like, when push came to shove and when, like, top offers started to come in to the Raiders and to John Spytek, the Bears were not really among those. It sounds like Baltimore ended up being the top offer, which clearly it did, 2 firsts, which is what the Raiders pulled the trigger on. Dallas was the closest. It sounds like Jacksonville might have been in on it, a couple others as well, but Fowler said in the end they were not major players. And I had heard throughout, and I had also said myself, just my opinion of what I would have done, is that I'm not giving 2 first-round picks. And I heard all along the Bears were never going to go that far. They were never going to give 2 firsts, and I think that's the right decision. I know we all want to play Madden GM and we want the best players in the league, right? Like, I have people DMing me, what if we can get Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson? Well, it's not going to happen. Like, they're not going to do that. So I think Poles was pretty disciplined here. I'm sure they offered a first and something else, and the Raiders got better offers, so they pivoted. And by the way, even if the Bears offered 2-1s, it still wouldn't have been enough because the Ravens did, and their first-round pick this year is 14th overall. The Bears is 25th. So it wasn't gonna happen. Once a team like the Ravens offered 2-1s when one of their firsts is in the top 15, you're just not going to compete with that in terms of making a reasonable offer. Like, topping that offer would have been reckless for the Chicago Bears. All right, so what do you guys think? Who is going to be the best free agent the Bears will sign? Most impactful guy they bring in here? Maybe it's a guy like Taylor Decker at left tackle. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back with another episode tonight. If there's no breaking news, we'll jump into a segment, do different rumors. Or if there is breaking news, we'll have that covered as well. And we'll have a video up in the morning, too, and then we'll be live at 10 o'clock. So lots going on. Free agency gets ramped up tomorrow. Get ready to roll. We'll have raffles and all kinds of stuff going on. It'll be a lot of fun. So subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll see you soon. Bear down.